In this lesson, we are going to look at quadratic equations where we need to square both sides. Now, this isn't an official method, but whenever we see a square root, we'd want to get rid of it, and obviously the counteractive operation would be to square it. So I'm going to square this, and then what I do on the one side, I have to do on the other side. So I'm going to square all of this, and notice that in this case, we are going to square the entire expression on the left-hand side and square the entire expression on the right-hand side. So we're not going to do it individually with each term like we would perhaps multiply through a coefficient or something. Okay, so what will happen now is this will cancel. Then we are left with 3x plus 10 equals 2. Now we can expand this. So if you feel more comfortable with it, you can write it out like this and then FOIL it out. But I'm going to go ahead and do it the faster way, whereas if I, for example, have a plus b squared, the general rule is you say the first term squared, then multiply the two terms together, multiplied by 2, and then the last term squared. Okay, so I'm just going to apply that because that's a bit faster now. So x is the first term, so we square that, multiply by 2, multiply together is 2x, multiplied by 2 is 4x, and then square the last term is 4. Okay, now we can see that this contains a x squared, this equation, so it means it's a quadratic equation, which means we're taking each and every term to the left hand side. So we're taking everything over, then plus 3x minus 4x plus 10 minus 4 equals to 0. Okay, then just simplify that, minus x, and then plus 6 equals to 0. Now, before we go ahead and factorize this, I want to get rid of this negative over here. So I'm just going to divide every term with a -1, or you can think about it like just multiplying through each term with a -1, or just changing each term's sign, whatever way you want to think about that. And then plus x, and then minus 6 equals to 0. Okay, now factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And then to get plus 1, I'm going to say plus 3 and minus 2. So x minus 2 and x plus 3 equals to 0. Okay, so therefore x minus 2 equals to 0, or x plus 3 equals to 0. So x is equal to 2, or x is equal to -3. Okay, now in the next example, there is an additional step, because we can see that we've got two terms on the left-hand side, which one of them is the root. And if I square root both sides, then we are not going to get rid of the root. If I square both sides, we're not going to get rid of the square root. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that there's only one term on the one side, that being the square root, so that when I square it, it will cancel. So I need to first take the 8 over to the other side, which leaves me with -2 square root of 2x plus 5 equals to x plus 8, or actually x minus 8. Okay, all right, now we can square both sides. Now what happens now is you've got this -2 to consider, and you've got the square root. So the -2 becomes positive 4. If you square a negative number, it becomes positive, and then this cancels. All right, so now we still need to write it in brackets. So we're writing 2x plus 5, just what remains, because it's this entire thing that that is multiplied with this expression over here. Okay, and then this becomes x squared minus 16x plus 64. All right, and then what I'm going to do now in one step is I'm going to multiply out these brackets, and I'm also going to bring these terms to the one side, over to the other side. So this is 8x plus 20 minus x squared plus 16x minus 64 equals to 0. Then we have negative x squared. 8 plus 16 is 24, so plus 24x, and then 20 minus 64, or if you think about it the other way around, 64 minus 20, it's easier, it's 44, but it's -44 equals to 0. Okay, now we can just get rid of that negative there, so it's x squared minus 24x plus 44 equals to 0. So factors of 44 are 1 times 44, 2 times 22, 3 can't go in, 4 times 11, okay, 5 can't go in, 6 can't go in, but if we look at 2 and 22, that could give us negative 24 by saying minus 2 minus 22. So we're going to say x minus 2 and x minus 22 equals to 0. Okay, so x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 22 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 2, or x is equal to 22.